So let me be very clear. I read the comments and there are a ton of comments saying that SOFI is just a dead stock, that it's basically going nowhere, and even some people calling it a fraud or a complete scam. So is SOFI actually a good stock, or is it actually a dead stock, a scam, or something else like that? What am I going to do about it? And at what price am I going to do it? So let's talk about these questions today and get you guys the truth on all of it. Just make sure you like the video if you like getting the truth without the hype, and make sure you like the video for all the different creators that you guys like. That's how you kind of let us know that you like it. More importantly, it helps out those creators. All right, so there's actually 3 different reasons I'm hearing all the time about why the stock is a dead stock, a scam, or whatever the case is that's out there, whatever negative case is out there. So let's talk about that. We'll talk about the negatives and the positives, and then we'll get down to exactly what I'm doing with SOFI and of course the price I'm doing that at. So number 1, insiders are selling out. All right, so we did have a major institutional holder sell out completely, basically dump all their shares, and it was a lot of shares of SOFI. And that's not the first time somebody's sold. There's been a lot of recent sales lately that have kind of put it in the light that, hey, maybe some larger investors aren't necessarily believing it. Now, none of them in the past have been nearly as large as this one right here. So this is definitely a big sign that, hey, maybe there is something going on with their stock. I mean, why else would insiders be selling? And it's something that I see quoted a lot. And on the surface, it can absolutely look like there's a problem there, or something's going on, or, just in general, maybe the stock's not going anywhere for a long, long time. There could be a lot of different things there, but obviously having an insider selling and having an institution selling a massive number of shares is honestly never really a good look if we're all being honest here. So I see that point, and they are right. We have seen some large insiders selling out of the stock. Number 2, share price is going nowhere. So I know there's a lot of frustration out there because a lot of the bull arguments have hit for SOFI. They've hit, and yet the stock price has done nothing except for go down. I mean, I really can't argue that at all. I mean, basically they shift from a student loan business to something much greater than a student loan business. And of course, the stock trades flat or down. They smash earnings 10 plus quarters in a row, and the stock price goes down. They turn a profit, and of course, the stock price goes down. Turn out more EPS? Yep, you got it. The stock price goes down, and the CEO buys, insider buying, and the stock goes down. Raising guidance, and the share price goes down. So I really can't argue against this one, at least not directly, that, hey, the stock price has gone nowhere for a very extended period of time. Number 3, many are tired of holding the stock. Look, there are a lot of you guys out there who have held the stock for 3+ years, maybe even more. So obviously in that 3 years, you've basically seen the stock chart go straight up and then basically just on this long downtrend down the rest of the time. Basically absolutely no share appreciation from that initial stock point price up. And of course, I guess basically not even share appreciation. You've just basically been devastated from there all the way down. And folks are tired of waiting. They're tired of the stock going absolutely nowhere. And they're very frustrated with the stock because you've seen all these other stocks. Hey, Nvidia has gone up 10x in the same amount of time. Obviously a lot of other stocks have had massive runs as well. Lots of stocks hitting all-time highs. The market's hitting all-time highs. And yet if you're a SOFI holder, you've gone absolutely nowhere, and people are just frustrated and tired with that. So when I look at those 3, especially on the surface, hey, I just showed you exactly what's going on there and exactly the reasons why. It may very well be valid. But there are very good counter arguments against all 3. Here we go with the positives here. So let's get into those next, and then we'll talk about selling the stock and at what price and all that other good stuff like that. So back to number 1, insiders selling out. Now, I know we've discussed this before, and I'm not going to rehash the entirety of that again, but insider selling is one of the very few rules that is actually enforced, actually something that the SEC has teeth in, and that they actually pursue, and that people actually get jail time for it. You can basically do anything else, it seems like, on Wall Street, and you're going to get away with it. But the one thing that you don't get away with is insider trading. So I don't believe that the insiders have any sort of inside information on this. And more importantly, to validate that, when you actually look at what all went on, there was a whole lot of pre-IPO, before it was ever a public company, options and a lot of other nuance and rules around those options that created a scenario where basically if this large investor did not cash out right now, any sort of guaranteed cash out at that guaranteed price goes away at that stage. So they actually almost lose money in a sense by not going on ahead and cashing out right now. And when you look at it even further than that, there was also some board seat things going on around these options as well. There was a whole lot more to this than just simply, oh, an insider getting tired of SoFi, seeing problems and just wanting out, just wanting nothing to do with the stock. There was actually a lot more to it than that with this particular insider selling. Now, the other piece that I want to bring up to you guys, and it's actually more important to me, is that despite that insider selling during that quarter, they actually had a net positive and a massive net positive of institutional buyers. So when you see it that way and you see that net buyers, institutional buyers, are up despite this massive sell-off, and I mean, it was a big, huge chunk of shares that were sold. Imagine how much bigger that would have looked on the buy side if you wouldn't have had that sell dragging it down. It would have been significantly higher, meaning for whatever reason, my guess is profitability, and then backing it up the following quarter, Wall Street is starting to get on board with this stock quietly there in the background. But when you look at the whole picture, not just one headline, but the whole picture, we're actually moving in the right direction in terms of institutional buyers buying into the stock. And that's exactly what you want as a long-term buy and hold investor. And that to me is a far larger sign of strength than it would be the one institution selling as a sign of weakness. So for me, that's just one that when you actually dig a little bit deeper and you actually get into the details, because details matter on this sort of stuff, and you get away from the headlines and the clickbait and everything else, that right there, you start to see, hey, there's actually something here moving in the positive direction instead. Now, if I were starting a new portfolio as a new investor, would I add SoFi as one of those stocks that I would want to grow my portfolio to six figures and beyond? Well, you can get the answer to that question by jumping in on the sale for my group, where one of the biggest discounts ever for my group is going on right now, and you don't want to miss out. Where you get access to 5 courses, you get access to free coaching, the best 6, 7, and 8-figure Discord out there. Or if you just want to take our $250 portfolio challenge, you can do that too at a reduced price as well. There's so much involved with the group, guys. We'll talk more about it at the end. Just check out the pinned comment, see if a membership's right for you. All right, so on to number 2, share prices going nowhere. Now, keep in mind, with growth companies, they don't normally just go to the moon right off the bat. If you were thinking 2021 was normal, basically that time frame where you just basically went public, started off and your stock just went to the moon, that is not normally how growth company goes. What we are seeing right now at a SoFi is much more normal than whatever the heck happened in 2021. Matter of fact, if you're referencing anything in your investing career to 2021, you need to get that out of your head right now. That was a one-time anomaly year that I've only seen maybe one other time in my 25 years in the stock market, and it's just not realistic. What's going on with SoFi right now is much more normal on the journey with a stock. And guess what? It is exactly what you want as a long-term buy and hold investor, because you get an extended period of time to buy really cheap shares, therefore having a much larger position because share count's what matters in the end. All right, so let me kind of start right here with a little bit of an example. Let's say that, to the moon price, let's just say a great price in the future. Let's just say it's $30 per share, all right? So we're looking at $30 per share. Now, right now, when you're looking at it, would you much rather have 1,000 shares at, $7 or so is your average, with that stock going to $30 there in the future, and it goes there pretty quick? It basically jumps up really, really fast, and it kind of goes there, and then before it kind of tapers off or whatever. Would you much rather that? Or would you and we'll say that's over a 3-year time frame, we'll say. Would you much rather go right up there and, 3 or 4 months from now and get there and kind of peter off? Or would you much rather have it stay flat for 2 of those years and therefore own 10,000 shares at, we'll say, a $10 average, $12 average or so, as it kind of ekes its way up to that mark later on? I don't know about you guys, but I can do the math on that really, really fast and show I would much rather have the 10,000 shares at $12 per share than I would the 1,000 shares at $8 per share, $7 per share, whatever number you want to put there. So for me, this is the perfect example of why share count matters so much, and how you actually build out large positions that turn into life-changing positions later on in stocks, for those that are patient, for those that wait, for those who understand exactly what's going on with stocks over the long run. A share price going nowhere just means you have an extended time to accumulate, because what do we all say? If you owned NVIDIA back when it was, right around $100 or so pre-split, and obviously it's up over $1,400 now, whatever the heck it would be pre-split. The only thing you're probably saying to yourself if you bought at those lows in 2022 was, I wish I would have bought more. Same exact thing with Meta in the 80s. What are you saying? Hey, I wish I would have bought more. Well, guess what? When you get 2 years, 3 years, 4 years to build out a position where the stock is cheap and it goes nowhere and the company's executing underneath, you probably won't be saying, I wish I would have bought more, unless you're one of those folks who actually didn't take advantage when the shares were cheap in the first place, and you kind of had the wrong mindset around that. So for me, again, this is a positive, not a negative for SoFi stock. But let's move on to number 3 here and see if we can make another connection there. So number 3, many are tired of holding the stock. All right, I know that it's frustrating. I know that a lot of you guys are tired, but literally I heard the same exact thing with Palantir a couple of years ago. The same exact narrative, these same exact comments whenever I was talking about Palantir when it was down in the, $5, $6, $7 range or so, which remember it sat down there for practically, it wasn't a full year because it had a nice little run up after they turned profitable. Then Wall Street beat it right back down to $7 again. But the comments were exactly the same as they are right now. And all that was in the end was a gift to add more to Palantir before it finally took its rocket ship up. Now, to be clear, I am not saying that SoFi has the same runway that Palantir does. I am not saying that SoFi is as good of a company as SoFi is. But I do believe it is a very good company with a very nice runway moving forward. And the comments and the feeling around people being frustrated or tired of holding the stock because it's gone nowhere and pointing to all these other stocks that have gone somewhere in the meantime is exactly the same. Again, I'm not saying it's going to have a, 4x run in it in a year like Palantir did. I don't know if it's going to do that or not. I'd be wondering. As a matter of fact, it would be a little bit overvalued at that stage if it rocketed up that fast. But nonetheless, the comments and the feelings are exactly the same. And that right there is the difference between somebody, think about all the folks who sold out of Palantir the moment it went just a little bit positive because they were tired of it. Think about that. That means they were selling out at $9, $10, $12, depending upon which YouTuber you listen to at the time or whatever the case was. There's a lot of craziness back then because people were frustrated. But then look at all the upside you missed after the fact by doing that. And so you've got to kind of keep that in mind that as long as the company underneath is performing, which SoFi absolutely is, there's no reason to go down that route. You're just getting gifts. So this one right here to me, although I understand the frustration, to me, again, changing that mindset and understanding what's going on long-term there, it's just another gift for us to be patient with and to continue to get shares on the cheap. So will I be selling or buying more SoFi stock? Well, for those of you guys waiting for the portfolio challenge, you got to wait until Friday for that. But in my own personal portfolio, I've been adding every single time it dips down below $6.69. I know, guys, I'm a child at heart. I'm sorry. But every time it does that, I'll add another batch of shares, and I will continue to add batches of shares as long as they continue to perform as a business, which they absolutely have been doing for a very long time now. So I'm very, very comfortable doing that. And if you want to see those buys in real time, make sure you take advantage of one of the biggest sales ever for my group in the history of my group. Check out the pinned comment down there where you get 5 free courses. You get free coaching. You get access to the best 6, 7, and 8-figure Discord out there. You get direct access to me anytime you want. Jump on our live Q&As, jump into my DMs, whatever the heck you want to do. Tons of exclusive videos that we release every week. There's just so much involved with the group, guys. Make sure you check out the pinned comment. Take advantage of the sale before it expires. And click this video here if you want to see exactly what I'm buying in this market. And click here to see my exact plan for this market. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.